Most people think aging is just something that happens to you. You slow down, you lose energy, you gain weight, and that's just part of life. But what if it's not actually true? What if aging is something you can influence every single day by how you move, how you eat, and how you live? Today, Adele and I are going to break this down because I just listened to a podcast where they talked about aging is not something inevitable, but something that can actually be slowed and even be reversed in the cellular level. And we're going to bring that to what we know best: running, training, and real life.
That is exactly right. Hello to my good friend Victor and to all of our listeners out there today. This is a key topic. And I think Victor and I can attest to it because we're in different decades. But it's right. Aging is optional. It's how you take care of yourself. And the three big things we addressed in our longevity episode a while back was movement, nutrition, and relationships. So your three big keys for longevity. So let's dive in a little bit. Victor's got some great topics on our agenda today. So let's get started.
Yeah, and Adele, when you hear that idea that aging might actually be something you can control, what's your first reaction?
I do it every day. I do it every day. And, I'm 68. I mean, this morning was swim intervals for 50 minutes, speed swim intervals for 50 minutes. Yesterday was a 27-mile cycle bike ride. I use fitness, but I also use really good nutrition, really good hydration, and I have the connection of wonderful relationships. So those are the three big things. And I do think it's optional how we age. There are things that happen. I've had cancer twice. I'm dealing with celiac and gluten, but yet I am a very young 68-year-old, and there are ways to look at your internal biological biomes and everything that we talk about in functional and traditional medicine. But the key is that my brain is healthy, and as long as my brain can stay healthy, I can control how I manipulate aging. And I'm going to use that word manipulate very, very intentionally. So,
Oh, I like
yeah,
it. I like it. And
yeah.
do you find yourself like me sometimes comparing yourself to people who may be sedentary or are not
Hmm.
incorporating movement? And I
Hmm.
also compare it to my younger self when I wasn't as active and I started running, and some of the things that people would tell me or say to me, like, you're going to destroy your knees. Because I was a UPS driver and I was also running marathons.
Right.
And when people would hear that, it's like, oh my God, you're going to totally destroy your knees. And I'm
And you're
50.
back.
uh,
And you're
yeah,
back lifted.
I'm 58. I've run over 60 marathons and I'm retired from UPS. I'm running some of my fastest right now.
Hmm.
And I had a little bit of problems with my knees at the beginning of my
Hmm.
career as a UPS driver, but I took some glucosamine. I continued to incorporate certain exercises, and I feel much healthier than some of my counterparts or coworkers that stayed inactive or just did the driving but
Right.
decided they're not going to do anything else. Because the biggest thing some of them would tell me is like, I do enough with my work.
Well, and part of that is true. There's a lot of physical activity in a job like that. There's a lot of physical activity when you're a nurse or a teacher or someone who's doing instruction and you're constantly on your legs and you're constantly in movement, right?
Right.
I believe that. So your body needs rest. The flip side of that is you're doing that every day for a different reason than taking care of your body. You're doing that because you have the passion to be a nurse or a doctor, or when you're doing the UPS driving, anything that's physical, your law enforcement, first responders, all of that, military. The deal is that to complement the success of that, you have to take care of your mind, body, and heart and spirit. And a
Absolutely.
lot of that is done by supplemental exercise, good nutrition, good conscientious brain health, right? Which goes along with your nutrition, rest. hydration, relationships. But the biggest thing is that you're supplementing the success of your profession by the success that you take care of your body and your mind. And
Absolutely.
that is done through some fitness exercise, as simple as walking, and getting a lot of extra water in your system. That are two key places to start, and you don't have to be an Olympic athlete to do that.
That's absolutely right. And one of the biggest takeaway from this podcast, which I'll mention, the podcast is with Steve Bartlett, Diaries of a CEO, and Dr. David Sinclair, who
Mm-hmm.
specializes in reversing aging.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest takeaways for me was that aging is not just about years, it's about the loss of function. So, losing muscle as we age, losing
Mm-hmm.
endurance, losing energy, and that a lot of that is optional. We can decelerate these things. These things might happen, but they don't have to happen as fast as
Right.
they normally do for most people. That if we stay active, if we do a lot of the things that they're
Mm.
telling us, uh,
Right.
studies that help us live a better quality of life for a
Right.
little bit longer, then why not do those? And one of those, of course, is the exercise,
Right.
running. And that's what I like to specialize. And only lately have I incorporated a lot more of the nutrition,
Right.
and that's played a huge role in my performance,
Mm-hmm.
the way I feel.
And I think that's a key point. Y'all, listen, we don't all have to be athletes, right? To take care of ourselves. All you have to do is be conscientious and intentional about it. And I'm gonna use Victor as an example because what he just shared with you is that in the last year, he has completely upgraded the way he's done his nutrition and hydration, which has really been a game changer in his training to achieve the goals he wants to achieve. He's on task to qualify for Boston again. His body has changed, his mental, spiritual, everything about him has been up it's off the charts. But what he did was something simple about paying attention to nutrition differently with someone who has guided him, who has a tremendous amount of knowledge. I wrote down in my notes as we were going over our topics for our podcast was knowledge. If you do not take advantage of the mass amount of knowledge that is out there now, people use the internet and they read all kinds of things. But if you're specific and say, how can I, this is what I do with my lifestyle. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to focus on running. You don't have to do anything except I want to move my body. Okay, you want to ride your bike? Go ride your bike around the neighborhood, cruise around, but you're outside, you're getting fresh air. You want to do something better for nutrition? Look at what you're eating and decrease the sugar, decrease the alcohol, decrease the amount of processed foods, go more organic, go clean. You'll notice more water. Those are very simple things that you can do without a lot of extra effort, but it's intentional. What you find happening is as we age, all the doctors want to use pills or prescriptions, right? If you go in and have blood work and you have high cholesterol. Well, why? Let's look at why and how can we change that? You don't necessarily need the pill, right? So all of that is knowledge based. And one of the biggest things, as Victor mentioned, if you just take concerted action, losing muscle and losing endurance and energy, it does come with age because our bodies do change, right? And we modify that. We can still do what we love to do. We modify it, but don't allow yourself to lose it just because you're aging. And I tell you, I say this all the time.
Yeah,
I am not one of those old people who goes to the doctor and lives by schedule. And I'm going to be very raw, transparent and kind of raw doctor's appointments and bowel movements. And a lot of older people get to that point. Their brains deteriorate, their muscles deteriorate. They just want to have a doctor's appointment on their schedule every day and they track when they go to the bathroom.
yeah,
What kind of life is that? Truly. You don't have to be that when you're old. You don't have to show up to the primary care for Medicare patients. You can look like me. and you can do what I do. And I'm one of their favorite patients because I'm not going to have any chronic stuff. And I'm going to tell them, I'm not doing that, not taking a pill. And I want to get my knee checked because I'm an athlete. I have to get back to my stuff.
Yeah.
So, what's your choice
It
as
comes.
you age? Do you want to be the victor who's changed his nutrition and now he's qualified for Boston in his late 50s? Do you want to be Adele at 68 who's cycling, swimming intervals, walking and run walking and still achieving her race goals?
Yes. One
And
of the interesting things, because of all you say, you're doing all these things, Adele, and it's doing things that you're not even fully aware, because if you didn't do them, they would show up, and they're not showing up. So we can say, hey, maybe that's what's preventing these things that you don't want to happen.
Mhm.
I don't know if you ever heard of the quote, you don't stop running because you're aging, you start aging because you stop running.
And that goes along with you don't get old because you stop playing. You stop playing because you allow yourself to be old.
Yeah,
Same concept. So that's our
absolutely.
fitness and running compared to our life skills, right? So there
Yes.
we go.
And the way they put, Dr. Sinclair put it, in terms of our cells,
Hmm.
they kind of, as we get older, they start to forget their job. And
That's a great
these
point. Great
things
point.
that we do, like staying active, a few of the things that he's giving us is that we can prolong that, the memory of the cells, to do a little better job at remembering what they were supposed to do. And because when they were younger, they could replicate themselves,
Right.
or uh,
Right.
maybe some of the cells fighting certain diseases, or our immune system fighting a cold or anything like that, they still remember
Hmm.
and do their well job. And as we get older, they start to forget their main function. And the way he put it is, the cells start to look a lot like each other. He also said that our whole body starts to replicate the cells of cancer.
Right. Because they stop working. And y'all, there's a key word in some of our notes that Victor and I have. Challenge. When you want to challenge yourself to do something, don't you go out and find one of the best avenues to achieve that challenge and be successful in it? Guess what happens to our cellular cells and all the things, all our bodily systems, our function, our cardio, our digestive, our reproductive. Of course, that changes with age. We all know that. But everything about us, if we don't keep challenging it, it becomes dormant, inactive, and stops developing. And that's the key point that Victor just made with our cells. Challenge your cells to be active. Challenge your heart to beat a little stronger and maybe a little faster when you go for a brisk walk or you're chasing your grandchildren around the yard.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself to be the best you can be and control your aging. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And I think that we can use that to motivate ourselves too, is
Mm,
think about in terms of 10 or 20-year segments, where, like, where do I want to be health wise in 10 or 20 years? If
mhm,
you are just having grandchildren, are you going to be there for your great grandchildren? Are you going
mhm.
to be able to play with them? Are you going to be able to lift them? And
Right,
use that as a motivation, because it's not just about being able to do that, but being able to feel joy in those things. You don't want
right,
to be
right.
such a sacrifice because you're having a hard time moving your muscles and all of that. Mm, the other thing that Dr. Sinclair in this podcast mentioned was that adversary is
Mm,
makes our cells get better, because one of the things that he recommends that we do is also cold plunges. And they don't explain exactly what happens with our cells when we do a cold plunge, but they suspect it's part of the putting ourselves in adversary that
right.
make them function at a higher level, which is also the reason they recommend fasting for long periods of time,
Right.
because it puts the body in a certain uh, adversary atmosphere to where they function at a whole new level. They have to
Mhm.
figure out how to function. And basically, what I took away from that is that comfort sometimes is not good for us. And probably in an evolutionary way, we were conditioned to save energy.
Mm.
Nowadays, it's actually what kind of kills us, because back then when we were chasing tigers or
And
chasing animals,
growing our
chasing our
food.
food, yeah, you didn't want to, when you had a time to rest, you want to conserve energy because you didn't know when your next meal was going to come, and those calories,
Right.
you had to save the calories, everything in your body, so that you can move when you had to move.
Right. I think too, one of the points to take away from this part of our conversation is consistency. When you can maintain some level of consistency of movement, fueling your body with good nutrition, clean stuff, not a lot of sugar, not a lot of processed foods, really eliminate those. It's almost 100% if you can. Um, Getting your protein in, getting your fiber in, getting the fruits and vegetables in, the water. When you are consistent in doing this, the body reacts to that. And what it does is any adversity it's facing, those challenges of hunting, those challenges for your food, those challenges of just allowing yourself the activity and the movement, your body is going to be ready to do it. But if you change that and you just say, "Oh, I'm going to walk a mile with my granddaughter on Sunday," and then you don't do anything else till the next weekend, not a good idea. Go out and walk for 10 minutes up and down your driveway or around your yard. At least you're moving a little bit each day. Drink a little bit more water, but you have to be consistent and intentional. Using the ice when you have an injury and the cold plunges and the recovery time is essential as well. If you've been hurt or you're recovering from some kind of illness or surgery, you give your body the rest it needs to be better when it's better. So
Yeah.
it's a consistent and intentional way to take care of yourselves so that the aging factor doesn't play a huge role in how you live your life.
Yes. One of the things that came to my mind when you were speaking, and especially when you brought up your identity as an athlete.
Mm. Hmm.
Now, I wonder if our cells in our body kind of replicate that or mirror our own faith of identity of who we are. For example, when you
Mm.
say, I am an athlete, I am a runner. And when you get all this other information where they're telling us that moving is good for you, putting yourself in
Mm.
adversity is good for you in certain ways, then our cells can live to the occasion.
Hmm.
They
Right,
rise to the occasion. They say,
right.
okay, uh, you're a runner, and I'm going to have to function at a certain level. And that's just my theory, that that's probably true, that they need
Yes.
to be reminded of their job.
Right. Well, and that's it. That's it. Because look what you're trying to do. You're trying to, make sure you have that qualifying time for Boston. So you're intentionally doing things every day. There's a training week that's a little bit high intensity, then a back off a little bit to a little lower intensity so that your body can recuperate, repair, and recover. And then you challenge it again. So
Yeah.
what's happening is you're building that momentum. So when we build momentum toward a goal, be it in a fitness or in a run or just in life to get to the next level, maybe in our professional lives, we have to get the knowledge, we have to put the time in, we have to work on some projects. Y'all, it's all up here and in your heart as well to do the things at a consistent level because that's part of your identity to be the next CEO of your company because you're putting the time and energy in to qualify for Boston, for me to do my 45th Crescent City Classic in another week and a half. Will I be walking more because of the little issue with my knee? Yes, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop. So, this for me is a high intensity week of training on the bike and in the pool and some speed walking
Yeah.
because I can't put the pressure on the running. But that's my goal. And next week I'll taper a little bit more
Yeah.
because I know I'm being consistent to get to that race day.
Yeah, and I think it's the mindset followed by
Mm.
the physical action that
Right.
the cells in our body get the message, oh, this is our new job, or it was always their job, but you're reminding them to work at a higher level. And
Hmm.
that's just how I think about it.
And I think that's a great point because when you do push yourself, you're having that higher level, and that sense of reward is immediate when you finish the task or the workout or that training episode of your fitness journey. The deal is that's an immediate reward. And I met someone last week in my certification who really has worked hard and diligently on a project. She's a high powered executive, and it's moved them into the next level. She's so excited about being finished, but she's also excited about the reward of knowing that what she contributed made a successful project to its conclusion. All of that goes into life skills as well. So, y'all take these points, don't let the aging affect how you achieve what you want to achieve and how you perform and connect in the relationships. The better you feel about yourself, the better you are giving that part of yourself out to others.
Yes, and that's perfect segue for our next segment that I was
Hmm.
going to talk about. Is that is you just said it, relationships and the connection we have with others,
Right.
because that's one of the things that mentions in the podcast is
Hmm.
very true, and studies have shown that people who stay connected, um, people who have partners who they get along with well
Right.
throughout their lives tend to live longer and healthier.
Right. Companionship is key, and it doesn't have to be a significant spouse or anything like that, but just relationships and stay connected. I say that every day in my little messages that I do. Connect, connect, connect. And a lot of times it's connect with yourself and give yourself the grace you need. Other times, and 99% of the time, it's connection with at least one other person.
Yeah, and the thing is that with runners or any endurance athlete that I've known, it seems
Mhm.
like it comes easy to connect because people are
Yeah.
willing to connect. They
Yes.
know that everybody in the running community, or not everybody, but most people know the power of connection when it
Right.
comes to these sports. Because
Right.
because I think we do these things sometimes alone, and where other sports might depend, like a basketball team
Hmm.
is together and it's a team effort on playing the game. When you come with runners, you want to do that lonely sport but stay connected at the same time. So finding ways to connect, to support, to do these
Right.
community activities is very highly valuable to our bodies and to our health and wellness.
Yes, it is, and I have my my little core group of what I call my running buddies. We've raised our kids together. We've gone through life changes together, losing parents, marrying kids off, having grandchildren. It's a community. It's part of my family. There's like five or six significant what I call my running buddies because that's where it started. We picked each other up on the street. We were raising our kids together at the same time. We have a significant relationship. That's part of the running. Then I have parent groups, but I also have the family groups. And I have interest based. What is your main focus of interest? Then you have conversations with people that you can really share ideas and just involvement in things. When you don't have an interest in the same things as other people, you tend not to gravitate towards those groups. That's great. Go where you are most rewarded for your time and investment of your heart, your soul, and your time. That's where you want to communicate the best. I don't have an interest in certain things that my family does. They don't have an interest in some of the things I do. My significant people in my lives, they may have wonderful experiences with other people I have nothing in common with. I don't choose to go to those things because it's not a use of my time or my energy. I'm going to go where it is because as you age, let's bring it all back. You consider time getting shorter, or I'm still counting up. So I want to make those moments that I'm connecting with people significant and rewarding of my time and effort. So you got to look at it a couple of different ways.
It's a very, very good perspective. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
And,
welcome.
you know, as we get closer to closing, I want to give our audience
Mm,
that we clearly should be doing and some of the
good,
things
good.
that are clear that we should be avoiding. So, things that we should be doing according to the experts is
Right.
Or
And
let's
we're
start
part of
with,
that. We're part of that because we live it.
let me actually start with things that we should be avoiding. Things that we shouldn't be doing is we shouldn't be sitting down all day.
Hmm.
Stay away from being sedentary. We should avoid eating processed foods.
Hmm.
We should avoid drinking frequently, and by drinking I mean alcohol.
Right, 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 right,
And uh, we should avoid skipping sleep. You know, those late
right,
nights and getting up early. Avoid that, and avoiding effort, meaning
right,
adversity. We shouldn't shy away from putting hard effort into our physical activities,
right,
things that put us under amount of stress that's not going to kill us or not
right,
threaten.
exactly. Don't be dangerous, y'all. Don't put yourself in a
No,
dangerous situation.
like the cold plunges, it could be so easily done knowing that you're not going to die. So
Right,
just plunge in the cold water. Do though, so don't avoid effort. Things that
right,
we should be doing is daily movement,
right.
run, walk consistently, strength training. We should be doing all should be doing a little bit of
Wait,
training.
right, right,
Eat whole foods. Try a 12 to 14-hour fast is one of the things they suggested it. I wouldn't uh, go with fasting without consulting your doctor.
right, right,
Sleep 7 to 8 hours and challenge yourself, which is what we said. Challenge yourself, which is avoiding the effort.
right. Real quick on these few little tips that we've had. Victor will have these in our show notes if he wants to put them in the comments or just a little list of them that you can pay attention to. Just remember that everyone has unique needs on some of these things. Sleep, food. If you have diabetes, for example, you eat a certain way. If you need a little bit more sleep, if you're recovering from something, give yourself that grace. Some people don't need 7 or 8 hours. Some people are very rested after 5, but they're allowing themselves downtime to maybe read or write or just not be challenged by the environment and other distractions. So give yourself, remember, give yourself that time and use your choice of something that makes you happy for your movement every day. You walk with your children, you walk with your grandchildren, you swim in a pool and just enjoy it. Ride a bike around the neighborhood, something that makes you move. Do some strength training. So remember, adapt it to your unique situation and what you enjoy doing, or you're not going to do it. So go ahead and find what works for you and continue to challenge yourself to age wonderfully. That's what I
Absolutely.
say every day.
And and if you need help with any of these
Mm,
things, incorporating any of this, you can reach out to us and see how we can help you. You can reach
mhm.
Adele. I'll put her email on the
Yep.
footnotes.
Yep.
Also, you can go to my website, eymcoaching.com, and get a consultation on how you can implement some of these strategies to
Right.
help you live a
Right.
better, healthier way. And I also put Crystal's website, which she is
Yes.
specializes in nutrition.
Right.
You can consult her as well.
Perfect.
All
Perfect.
right.
We're gonna close up because I've got some training to do. Victor's got some training to do. We can address some of these things again in the future, but we also have some things we want to share with you about races and events that we've prepared for that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to share some of our results with you and how happy we are to be have been able to participate in those things again. So, my dear friend, I love you. Incredibly enjoy the rest of this week and age well.
Yes. And don't forget to subscribe, push the subscribe
Yes.
button, and we will see you soon.
See you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.